Jesus, we make your praise glorious. You are glorious. Hey, let's go. Oh, God, you are glorious. Can everybody say, my God, you reign? Say it.
And tell us a little bit about themselves. So if I can, I'll start from my far right. And if you can, share with us who you are, sir, and give us a little information about you.
I'm Dr. Alvin Chapman. I practice dentistry, West Park Family Dentistry, around the corner, West Park and House on Lake Road, right around the corner there. I've been practicing dentistry for a total of 40 years, 30 years here, and previously in the Navy.
Amen.
My name is Patricia Brown, and I'm a employee of Mercer. I've been there for 28 years, and I live in Warner Robins. Glad to be here.
I'm Dr. Samuel Palmer, family medicine, house and family medicine. I've been in the area since 1992, originally from Fort Pierce, Florida. Been in the community for a while and love being here.
Wonderful, wonderful. And these are our esteemed guests tonight. We are joined with the Pastoral Alliance, a lot of our pastors in the area. We want to honor our president in the form of Pastor King and our vice president and all the pastors who are joining with us, and also to all the other churches who are joining with us. We're glad to have each and one of you on board. Again, tonight our task is to make sure that we understand the importance of the vaccine, understand the importance of the pros, and we know that there are going to be some cons. I am so glad to stand before you and say I just got my second shot at 2 o'clock. So if I get a little weary up here, just say he just got his shot. He's okay. He's okay. So again, as we start tonight, we're going to look at it two ways. We are being joined on Zoom, and there are going to be some questions that are coming across there. We also have microphones set up for those who want to, from the audience, pose their questions. But also our esteemed guest has given us some starter questions that we could use to get us started, understanding a little bit more about the the vaccine and all. And so I want to start tonight with just a few of the questions. Dr. Chapman, why should we as black people get the COVID-19 vaccine?
We should get the vaccine because we want to live. We want to live, thrive, and be healthy, and because the coronavirus is very, very dangerous. It's so difficult to predict who's going to get it, and we want to be in a position to take care of ourselves. And we also know that we as African Americans have been hit the hardest by this. We have a lot of conditions that predispose us, and so we want to be safe, live and thrive, and the way to do that is to get the vaccine.
Thank you, sir. Again, as we go, and I'm going to pose the same question to our other two guests, why should we as black people get the COVID-19 vaccine?
Well, just like Dr. Chapman says, we want to live. We want to be able to travel, we want to be able to see our families, we want to be able to live this way. It has taken control of our community, our lives, it's taken everything. And we want to get back to some normalcy. So there's a vaccine in place for us. So I think as a race, as people, we just should adhere to that and just take the vaccine for yourself.
Okay. Dr. Baum?
Well, I think we should get the vaccine because every now and then we get a miracle that come our way. And this miracle is for this pandemic is the vaccine. We got the vaccine in a little less than a year. I would have been very disappointed if it took longer than a year to get this vaccine out with this pandemic and how it's working. So we want to get back to normal. I want to take my wife to a concert. We want to get back to church. We want to see our families. And this vaccine will allow us to see our families, to interact with everybody. Dr. Chapman and I, we see patients in the office. we want to make sure that these patients know that we're safe. So by us getting the vaccine to protect you from us, and you getting the vaccine to protect us from you, then so getting the vaccine to protect each other. We're doing these vaccines not just for yourself, but you're doing it for the entire community. You're doing it for your mom, you're doing it for your dad, your children. There are some people that have pre-existing conditions, and some of them may not be able to get the vaccine, but if all of us around them get the vaccine, we protect them. That's how vaccines work, is that everybody else is vaccinated and can't spread the disease from place to place. Then you protect the folks that cannot get the vaccine.
The next question we have is, how can we trust a vaccine, and this again, that was made so quickly? Anybody? How can we trust a vaccine that was made so quickly?
Well, you know, when we say quickly, only the idea of, or the reality of the vaccine seemed to come along quickly.
Okay.
But the research has been going on for a long, long time. You know, especially with Johnson & Johnson, we know that that's been around, that research and that technology has been here forever. And when it comes to Pfizer and Moderna, the newest of the ones, the messenger RNA technology, it seems to be new, but that research has been going on for 10 years. It's just a situation where this pandemic created the need. And we should be thankful that we have the great scientists in this country who are able to come together, collaborate along with industry, and make this and provide it for us in such a short length of time.
Wonderful. Anybody else want to elaborate on that question?
The only, the reason we know it was made within a year because, there was transparency. We saw it from the beginning. I mean, there are other drugs you take every day. Do you happen to know how long it took them to make those drugs? Probably not. And the reason you know about the Pfizer vaccine is because it was on TV every day. We saw it day in and day out. They let us know we were in on the game. So quickly, what's our definition of quickly in the science world when the blueprint was already there?
All right, Dr. Palmer, you want to share anything with that?
I agree with them, and as I said, I would have been extremely disappointed that it would take longer than a year for a vaccine in a pandemic to come out. This research has been going on for years. We've been having vaccines for hundreds of years, so the technology is there to make a vaccine quickly. What happens in order to make a vaccine, usually you go through different steps. The preclinical trials where you test the vaccine on animals. Then you go to phase 1, you test it on a few people to see if it's safe. And then phase 2, you test it on more people to see if it's safe and effective. In phase 3, what dose to use. Each stage, you use a number of subjects or clinical subjects to do it. The first phase may be 100 patients. The second phase, it may be about 1,000 patients. In that third phase, it could be 50,000 patients. In fact, it was about 70,000 patients, clinical cohorts to participate in these trials. So we had a lot of people to participate in the trials. Now, usually it takes a lot longer to get a vaccine to market because of money. Each phase you wait to see how it works. You may wait a year or so. In the next phase you wait another year or so. Then you raise money if it's going well. Now, if the government gives you all the money and tells you, and this is what happened, tells you money is not the factor, we need to get this vaccine. So they were doing all the phases at one time. And so that's how they were able to get the vaccine to market quicker. And it's used as emergency use. That's why you can't force people to take the vaccine right now, because it's emergency use. But soon it will be licensed, and hospitals and medical professionals may have to take the vaccine. Right now it's a choice, but in the near future it's going to be a requirement, especially for medical professionals to take the vaccine.
All right, thank you. There's been a lot of conversation about which vaccine to take. Do I take Johnson & Johnson? Do I take Pfizer? Do I take Moderna? What are the benefits of being vaccinated, and which vaccine should I take?
So I got the Pfizer vaccine. My wife got the Moderna vaccine. The reason why I got the Pfizer vaccine, it was the first available. If the Moderna vaccine was the first available, I was getting that. If the Johnson & Johnson was the first available, I was getting that. So the first vaccine that was available to me was the Pfizer vaccine. I don't think there's a huge difference between the vaccines. So whatever vaccine you can get it and get it as soon as possible. My wife asked me to wait to get the vaccine. She wanted me to wait to get the Johnson & Johnson. I told her I could be dead by the time the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So get the first vaccine that you can get.
Anyone else? Is there a preference? Is there a benefit in one over the other? Well, thank you, Dr. Palmer.
Well, I took Pfizer. Most of my family members took Pfizer. There's one that took Moderna. And like Dr. Palmer said, because those were the vaccines that were available. So that's what we took. And I think they all, you know, they tell us take what's available. Something is better than nothing.
All right.
And I concur. I had Moderna. My wife had Moderna. My daughter had Moderna. And my son, the conspiracy theorist, he said he didn't want to take either, but he was going to wait on Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
And we have a 2.5-year-old grandson that we haven't been able to spend much time with, and my son hadn't been able to be around us. Everybody else had the vaccine. So on Friday, he had access to Moderna, and he took Moderna.
He took Moderna.
So I agree. Whatever's available, the efficacy, there's not a great difference in them, and so they all three work. They've been through the trials and whatnot, and so whichever one you have access to first, take it, because you know when we start talking about time and quickness and all that, it wasn't so quick that 500 and some thousand lives just in the United States were lost. So, and you know, time is of the Lord, as we would say in church. So we don't have to look at mankind's time. We tend to try to do that, but when something comes along that gives us an opportunity to live well, and also be able to get back to the activities that we've grown accustomed to, let's do it.
Thank you. Okay. One of the issues people deal with is the side effects. The question to the panel, are side effects to the vaccine common? One of my members said to me, I can't take it because someone took it and a lot of people died. So again, you have a lot of conspiracy theories. We're looking at Facebook and posts. To the panel, are there side effects? And here it is it a common thing?
Yes, there are side effects to everything. If you eat a McDonald's hamburger, somebody's gonna have gas. So there are side effects to everything. My patients, they love to have a Z-Pack going in. There are side effects to the Z-Pack. So there are side effects to the vaccines. Some of the common side effects that I'm seeing now are a day after you may have some chills, fever, body aches, like flu-like symptoms. Some people have pain in their arm where the vaccine has been given. I've had colleagues to say that they were fatigued for a couple of days. But those are the most common side effects that you will see. So side effects, I'm not gonna lie to you, they are common. I didn't have any. My wife had chills and fever, body aches the next day for 24 hours, then she was fine. My niece, who's 22, initially she said she wasn't gonna take the vaccine, she was gonna thug it out. But she lives in my house, so she wasn't thugging it out in my house. So I told her she gotta take the vaccine. And she had, on the second vaccine, she had some chills for about 12 hours, but that was about it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, my first vaccine, about 6 hours later, I had a sore arm. Took 2 Tylenols later, went to bed, woke up next morning, nothing. My second vaccine, I had absolutely nothing. A lot of my family members had no side effects whatsoever. So, that's our story. And some of the employees that I work with, some of them had side effects, chills, body aches, fatigue.
Same here. I had, after the first, right away, no problems. A couple weeks later, I began to experience some fatigue, and I just didn't feel like myself. That lasted 2-3 days, and no problems thereafter. My wife had none. My daughter, she had chills and a little fever and fatigue for a couple of days after her first. And so, who can say? But most of the side effects are marginal. And the other thing is that if you go get a flu shot, you're going to have a side effect of at least a sore arm or something like that. And if you get tetanus, it may even be worse. So as Dr. Palmer said, side effects are to be expected.
Okay. We're gonna ask, because we have a couple of people here that may have a few questions, and so we want to give our audience a chance to ask a few questions as we continue our discussion. We have one that I think she is ready on her end. Yes, ma'am. We're going to ask, if you have a question, please come to the mic so the cameras can pick you up.
Okay, my question is, if you have the COVID virus, how long should you wait before you get the vaccine? Or should you wait at all?
The CDC recommends 90 days, so that's the recommendation we give everybody.
Do they have an idea of what happens if you take it before 90 days?
Well, you probably what happened, however, I think initially when they made that recommendation, if the rest of the panel can correct me, there was gonna be a shortage. So the people that had COVID, they had some immunity, so they were hoping that they would wait a while and let the other people that had not had COVID to get the vaccinations. But now the vaccinations are plentiful. So some of my patients, they ask me after a month, can they take the vaccine? And I tell them yes. But the CDC recommendation is still 90 days, and I don't think that's changed. But nothing's not gonna happen to you if you get a vaccine before then. The CDC also are looking at the possibility of if you've had COVID, can you get away with just doing one vaccine versus 2 vaccines? But that hadn't been determined yet.
All right. Anyone else on the panel?
Yeah, I was just going to say now they are allowing individuals to take the vaccine after they've had COVID within the 90-day window. Previously, they were recommending not, but now people are so anxious. A lot of people are so anxious, and individuals who've experienced COVID and had a bad outcome, and a bad process through it, they're wanting to take it as quickly as possible. And I've seen a number of my patients that have gone in within that window. My daughter works at the CDC, and what she was saying is exactly what Dr. Palmer said, that you build up immunity when you're exposed, and so they don't know exactly how long, but they feel like it's at least 3 to 6 months. So that's why they were saying that.
Okay, all right.
I had a friend that had COVID but it didn't last long.
Right.
She had the fever and the chills, and she also went back for the second shot, and the same thing happened. So that's what I was doing.
All right. Anyone else want to say anything?
Well, I have a friend who had COVID, did not know she had COVID, took the vaccine, started getting sick, went to the doctor, chest x-ray revealed COVID lungs,
Wow.
and the doctor told her that that first shot she took probably saved her life.
Wow. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Anyone else want to share anything? Okay. Let's talk about protection. One of the fail-safe things people are saying is we don't know how long it lasts. Do we have to come back next year and take the shot again? So can anyone give us a little insight if this is similar to the flu shot where we have to get it every year? Or what is the research saying about once you get the shot, how often are we going to have to come back and do this again?
The short answer, they don't know yet.
Okay.
The research is still going on, and so they really don't know.
Okay.
I want to add something to that. Do y'all remember the H1N1?
Mm-hmm. Swine flu.
It hit. Okay, my daughter-in-law was carrying out her first grandbaby, so we was highly recommended that we take that vaccine, and we did as a family. And the next year, when the flu vaccine came out, guess what was in that flu vaccine? The H1N1. And that's more than likely probably why we never heard about it again.
All right.
We did protect against it. So what they'll do there for COVID, who knows? Will not help. But I do whatever they recommend.
All right. All right. Dr. Pope, any insight? Okay. All right. All right. One other question. Most people will say, I've got my 2 shots now. Do I still have to wear my mask everywhere I go? Panel, if you can help us with that one, because again, we're now starting to see people taking the mask off, going places. Do we still need to wear the mask after the second shot?
So the answer is yes, we still need to wear the mask. Now, I do feel like you are protected and you are protecting others by getting the vaccine, and you're probably not infectious and you probably won't get it from someone else. However, the mask is such a big controversy. You may have somebody say, hey, where's your mask? And this person says, well, I've had the vaccine, and therefore I don't have to wear a mask, when they may not have had the vaccine. So in order to keep down controversy, the CDC still says, wear your mask. Everybody still wears your mask because we don't know who's lying about this vaccine. And then until we get enough people vaccinated to accomplish herd immunity, 80% of the people vaccinated, then I think we'll continue to wear the mask.
All right. Panel, anyone else want to?
Yeah, well, this morning I saw in the news where Georgia is only vaccinated 12% of the population.
Wow.
So yes, we gotta wear a mask.
Now tell me you want to say.
Well, one thing I would add is if you're in a situation where you're with a family member, they're saying now that if you're with a family member in your household or whatever the case may be, or even visiting with a family member that you know had the vaccine, then the two of you can remove your mask and socialize with each other. So I think, and even for me, my mom is 82 years old and she lives here, and for the longest time, well, she's had her vaccine, I've had mine, but when I would go over to take care of her, visit her, we both had masks until a couple weeks ago when my daughter said, well, you know, when y'all visiting now, y'all both can take off your mask, so that's what we do.
Wow. All right. Have a question from the audience.
My question to the panel is, what are the guidelines for pregnant women
Yeah, that's a good
taking
question.
the shot?
It's still recommended, but it's not required, so that's one of the questions that I get, and I always tell them it's recommended. However, I understand your concern with a new vaccine. So I understand your concern.
You know,
Matter of fact, on Saturday, I think it was, some of the newer research surfaced that even though they were recommending it, the research is showing that it's working even better than they envisioned.
Wow.
That women are protected to a greater degree, and it's passed on to the unborn. And so the baby is actually protected. They're seeing antibodies when the baby's born, and they do the analysis and whatnot. So it's working very, very well.
wow. All right. Okay. All right. You want everybody? Okay. Yes, ma'am. You want to say something? Okay. All right. Yes, sir. If you can't step to the mic, sir.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. One of the things that's coming out now is the possibility of vaccine. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So, like with most medications, with pregnant women and nursing women, there are precautions. So, pharmaceutical companies and healthcare providers, they are nervous about that. So, especially with something new, he says recommended with precautions. So, it's definitely recommended, but when women are nursing, we do understand their concern. Even with a common antibiotic, there are concerns.
Okay. One of the questions that are coming out now is children and vaccine. If you will, panel, for those who can answer this, is it recommended as we start to get into more opportunities to vaccinate even our elementary school, middle school, and teenage children? Is this something that is coming? Is there any dangers to our children being vaccinated?
So the vaccinations are available to 16 years and older. They are doing research on children now, so that data is not out to say that children under 16 can be vaccinated because it hasn't been studied yet. The studies are ongoing right now.
Okay.
Right. But your question was, is it coming? Probably.
It's coming. All right. All right. All right. Anybody want to share anything? And this is something, especially in Georgia, we are trying to, for a lot of areas, get kids back into school. And one of the recommendations is let's see if we can try to look toward vaccinating even our young people. And that is, again, a serious question that's coming up. Let me just add to intercede on that. College students. Report came out, I think Rutgers University has now said, as of August 2021, no student will be allowed to come on the campus unless they have been vaccinated. Can anyone share with us how that works from a college standpoint? Why is that important for perhaps some parents who have kids in schools to start looking at the possibility of your child may not be able to attend college unless they get the vaccination? Anybody want to give a little insight in that?
I think that you're going to see that, and the biggest reason is behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, young people, they feel like a lot of times that they're bulletproof, and the behavior is such that they have not been able to harness that. You know, there have been so many ups and downs. You look at Duke University here recently, had a really, really bad outbreak. And so, and taking it one step further, as Dr. Palmer was saying earlier, the reason why these vaccines are here and administered on the level that they've been able to be is because of the emergency use order. Now, that emergency use order is going to go away, and they're going to be able to give the vaccine. It's going to be there without emergency use, without the order. And when that happens, it's going to be like other vaccines. They're going to be mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to take them. That's coming. I feel like it's necessary. So to be really concerned, if your child's going to school or wants to go to school to an institution that has already made that edict,
Mm-hmm.
then you might want to reconsider, but also know that it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's
All right. Okay. Any other panel wants to
Yeah,
get this?
there are several vaccines that the students have to take before they can attend. I mean, COVID is, just add to the list. But there's several of them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Tetanus, hepatitis B, TB, skin tests, a lot of them. They can't go in without those tests.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And so I do respect Rutgers for doing this, because as if you were in college like I was, you know we're foolish there. If you could see the people that spring break in Miami, how wild those kids were. So requiring the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, I think that was a wise thing to do. And as Ms. Brown said, we require vaccines already to get into school, and we require vaccinations that we don't even see disease processes with those. And now we're seeing COVID, where 550,000 people have died. It just makes sense that we would vaccinate these kids instead of one person in the classroom is positive. Now you got to cancel the whole class. Vaccinate everybody and be done.
Wonderful. And again, too, most of you will know that a lot of your college students are in dorms together. They're eating at tables together. And again, as Dr. Palmer has stated, it's easy for them to contact or contract these COVID antibodies and all. So we need to make sure, as the panel has stated, that that's an option. A question from the audience. Pastor King, our illustrious president.
Thank y'all for being here today. I have two questions. I heard that after you get the vaccine, that they're going to be like, you're going to have to carry a card. You know, I mean, I heard that. I don't know if I heard it or not, but you know, just like your driver's license or whatever, that when you go into a place, they're going to have people to check to see if you got the vaccine. I want to know if y'all heard anything on that feedback.
All right. Panel.
Well, I will say that I have heard that. Has it been substantiated? Do I know that it's true? I mean, you hear and see a lot of things out there. I get people sending me things that people have posted, and a lot of times the people who are posting it are not knowledgeable, or not authorities, don't make decisions. They just have opinions and have the wherewithal to post something. So we don't know what's going to happen in that regard. I think that it's a good thing that they give you a card. I'd like to get back to flying and traveling and whatnot.
That's right.
And so that gives a level of comfort. Now, whether it should be a requirement, that's a debate for a higher authority. But I do have a degree of comfort knowing that a person can flash a card and it's authentic, and be able to get back to living the way that they lived before. When we used to go into certain places, you had to show your ID, show
That's
your
true.
license. When you're in college, you got to have an ID. Even now in high school, you got to wear your card around, your ID around your neck. So,
All right.
Another question
Yes,
is that Johnson & Johnson, they put out only one vaccine. one shot, I understand. Did y'all get that?
Right, yeah. So their vaccine is only one injection. However, they're still doing research, and it's a possibility that they may add an injection later on.
My last question is, how can we motivate our people
That's a good question.
to start taking the shot? To encourage, I know we can't make people take the shot, but we need to come up with a procedure, a concept, or some kind of way to let our people know. And going back to what you said about before we got in school, I can never forget when I was a young kid, start school, I had to be vaccinated. And I had to make sure I had my shot record with me to show that I had took the shot before I could get in school. And somehow, maybe with everybody else today, with the NAACP and with everybody else who are located, that we can encourage our people, they need to get this shot. And so this is something that maybe have some comments on that. Thank you.
I do think when you have leaders that are stepping up and your people see that you're getting the vaccination, it will influence someone to get the vaccination. Almost no one in my office in the beginning said they wouldn't get the vaccination. And once I got the vaccination, then they started falling in line. I still have a few people that are into this conspiracy stuff. Bill Gates is trying to kill 1 billion people. They put chips in the vaccine and things like that. All that propaganda that's on the internet has stopped a lot of people from looking at the science and looking at how many people have died. You know, you're talking about Bill Gates trying to kill 1 billion people. It's ludicrous, but 550,000 people have died. People will have someone in their family to die, several people, and that still won't get them to decide to get the vaccine. So having forums like this and our clergy and leaders in the communities stepping up, getting the vaccine, their family getting the vaccine, it's going to influence some people. We're hard people, though. So, but it'll influence some people.
And I say too, I say too, don't be afraid to speak up to things. If you know the facts, just speak it. Just talk to them. Because you're going to realize that they're going to talk that game and when they get right down to it, there's no teeth into it. And those are the people that you turn. You're like, okay, well, now I see what you're saying. I'm like, well, I want you to go back and do some research for yourself as well. But don't just go around just saying stuff that it makes no sense. It makes you look, I'm very passionate about it because I talk about it at work all the time. I'm constantly turning employees, changing their minds. They just sit and talk to me for about 5 minutes, and they ask me what I think about it. I give them the dirty truth on it. And when it's said and done, they go get that vaccine. And they come back and say, well, thank you, Pat. If you took it, if it's good for you, it's good for me. So I'm not afraid to talk about it and speak what I know to be true about it. I'm still alive.
Same here. Patients come in, we have that conversation, and it's gotten to the point where I'm not even surprised by what I hear. It just seems like it's something new every day. But you have to educate people. You have to speak to them, and we have to have people to speak to the process in a way that is effective for our people, because we have to get our heads out the sand and understand that it's affecting us disproportionately. I have people who come into my practice and it's pretty diverse, and it amazes me how when I speak to some people, they talk about they don't know anybody who's had COVID. Nobody that they know of. They're still in church. They're still going to parties. They're still doing this and that. They don't know anybody. But when I talk to my people who look like me, I don't hear that. I don't hear that. You hear and see the despair because they're conflicted. They're conflicted. They don't have the trust. But there again, they've seen people who are affected. They've seen people who were here and vibrant and living a good life and being snatched away. Just last week, I'm from Albany. My high school, 41-year-old teacher, 10 days before, she was doing well. She was doing well. Didn't take the vaccine. Got sick. Within 10 days, she was gone. And myself, I had a family member that was in the hospital on a ventilator, and was in the hospital for 13 weeks.
Wow.
That's a long time. That's a long time, and she's still suffering. She's still suffering. So we just have to acknowledge that it's tougher on our people. We have to step up and like Ms. Brown said, speak the dirty truth, and hope that they'll hear it and act upon it.
Okay.
The Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge."
Lack of knowledge.
And
That's
so
right.
We definitely got to educate our people.
Bishop.
Yes, I would ask you all to please speak to the issue of Tuskegee. I feel that over and over again, people trying to compare this vaccine to the Tuskegee vaccine. And the second thing I'd like you all to talk about is the idea that it was formed somewhere in a lab. And you would address those issues.
So, in terms of the Tuskegee experiment, normally when a person asks me, well, express their concern about that, I always ask, do you know what the Tuskegee experiment was? Most people don't, so they just mention that. So it's not really, it's a cop-out because these same people have been getting vaccines all of their lives. All of us have gotten vaccines all of our lives. So it's more than just a vaccine. When you see guys that's been in and women that's been in the military, they'll tell you they'll get 5 vaccines at once. They have no idea what's in the vaccine, what it is. They say drop your pants and take these shots. So
A lot of veterans in here.
so it really is a cop-out, and the Tuskegee experiment versus the vaccination is not even a fair comparison. That was separated, and truth be told, it took some administration from Tuskegee, black people, along with the researchers to make that work. So, but now the vaccines, you can't really separate people and do vaccines, white, black, green, you can't really separate. So everybody's getting the same vaccines.
Right. Other panelists, you want to say anything?
Well, I'd like to I concur with that, but speak to the idea, the question about in a lab, are we talking about the vaccine, or are we talking about the
COVID.
virus?
Right.
Well, yeah, that is a rumor, and we don't know. We don't know. The former CDC director just said 2 days, night before last?
Right.
Whatever, that he has some opinions about that, and I think that kind of added to the controversy that's out there. He probably should not have said that. I don't think it was wise, and especially given the way he reacted when he had an opportunity to do other things that would have been more positive. So we don't know. We don't know where the virus came from. The likelihood is that it wasn't created in a virus, in a lab, but we don't know.
Okay. Ms. Brown, you want to say anything? Okay. All right. We have another question from the audience.
I wanted to ask a question about, you all spoke about those who've had COVID, build up an immunity, and as you said, between 3 to 6 months. So what is because I know there are a lot of people who have said, well, since I already have it, I've already built up an immunity, so I'm good, so I don't have to get the vaccine. Can you tell me the difference between those who've had it and build up their immunity and the time parameters or the time frame of what would happen if they didn't after their immunity or doesn't wear off, and as opposed to getting the vaccine? Y'all understand?
Good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So the bottom line is, like we were saying earlier, they don't know. They don't know for certain. They do know that if you're exposed and you have the disease, you're going to get a natural immunity. You're going to build up an immunity. How long that immunity is going to last, we don't know. I don't think we even know how long the immunity from the vaccine
goes.
is going
Right.
to last.
That's true.
Because it's only been a year or a little less than a year that those trials have gone on, and the first individuals were actually vaccinated. So I think time will tell, and that's why there's the likelihood of some sort of booster system or having to be revaccinated. It's just like with hepatitis. You know, there was the thinking that you get the hepatitis vaccine and you're good for life. But now when people go in and get tested and don't have antibodies, they have to be revaccinated. So it may be the same way with this. I don't think we know.
All right. Ms. Brown, you want to? All right, Dr. Paul? Okay. All right.
Okay. You said there were stages when you do the test. What stage are we in while we're taking the vaccine by choice?
What do you mean? I don't.
Yeah, we're in the phase 4. So the people that, we're in phase 4, the people that have gotten vaccine, like you and I, those numbers will come in. So we're having side effects and reporting them. And then they'll look at, with these things, how long the immunity lasts. So we're in phase 4.
All right. We have another question from the audience.
I'll take it up. But anyway, after the second shot, how long would it take before you are fully protected after the second shot? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks?
14 days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Are there any other questions from the audience? Any other questions from the audience? One of the things, and again, a myth that we've heard is that for so many of our young people, if they take the vaccine, there's a good chance that you'll have trouble with fertility. I've heard that as one of the reasons why so many of our 20, 30, and 40-year-olds say, no, I want to have children later on. I don't know if anyone have heard that, but again, that is another myth that continues to be posted in our social media. Can anyone speak to the possibility or if there's some validity to that?
Well, we've been getting vaccinations, as I said, forever, and even the flu vaccines. So if you wanted to try to compare a vaccine like a virus, maybe you compare the flu to this COVID virus. We've been getting vaccinated for years and years and years: measles, mumps, rubella, oral polio, diphtheria, hepatitis, and so on and so forth. There's never been any problems with infertility with any vaccines that I know of. So that's what I would say to that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ms. Brown, you want to say anything?
I just want to say that we as a race, we should have a long laundry list of why we can't get this vaccine. And that's just one of them. I'm just appalled at what I hear. I've heard Facebook on that. And,
All right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
you know, the chip is in it, but the chip is in that phone. That's what the chip is. So, I have not heard nothing.
All right.
It's
Dr. Chapman.
It's difficult. You hear that, people believe that, and And so, for me, as a healthcare practitioner and as an employer, and my staff, they're all women, and I've heard that. I have individuals that have refused because they're afraid that they won't be able to get pregnant later on. They won't be able to have kids. They'll be infertile. And so I don't think there's anything out there to substantiate that. But my concern is that when and the same people say that they're tired. The virus is in the mouth. We work in the mouth, and so we double mask all day, every day. We wear shields. We wear PPE out the yin yang, so to speak, and it's difficult. It's hot and it's difficult, and so we want to get away from that. And the same person who's afraid to take the vaccine because they may not be able to get pregnant, they're tired. You know, they're tired of wearing what they wear. So we're all tired about something or because of something. We don't know. We don't know. But as an employer, I'm concerned that if we get an opportunity, because I'm telling them that you have to have this vaccine. Now, when the emergency use authorization is aside and it's fully vetted, and we can mandate that people take it, I'm concerned because if somebody says no, you know, they're not protecting my patients, and they may put me at risk. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I have to mandate that and lose a valuable employee, to me, that's it can be avoided. It's senseless. And so I'm really concerned about that.
Okay.
But it's out there, some people believe it.
Now, there are people that get COVID. There are some long-term effects from COVID that we are seeing, from lung problems to heart problems, skin, respiratory problems. So if we're trying to think about long-term effects from the vaccine, we also need to think about long-term effects from having COVID. There was a basketball player at the University of Florida. He collapsed on the court a month after he had COVID. They still had not determined why he collapsed, and I would like to not make any judgment and say it was COVID, because people will do that when they get the vaccine and they have a problem. They say, oh, it was the vaccine. No, you have to do all the research and figure it out. But I do have patients that recovered from COVID but are still on oxygen 6 months later from having the COVID infection. So we have to consider that too. Whether that probably is being studied, whether having COVID could give you some infertility issues.
All right. As we get ready to end this town hall, one of the things that we have in front of us is we have a lot of pastors. We're on the verge of our Easter season. And I want to ask the panel, as you see a lot of the pastors here, a lot of us are anxious to get our members back into our sanctuaries. And so I'm going to ask the panel, what would you recommend for pastors and churches who are trying their best? Again, Easter season is right around the corner. Amen, bro, pastors? Amen. What would you recommend to us as leaders to help us to get our doors back open and to get our people comfortable enough to enter back into our sanctuaries?
I would say educate yourself and know the numbers, not just for the USA, but know the numbers for Georgia, know the numbers for your community.
That's right.
Know that you're going to get a lot of pushback. I serve in the leadership at that fellowship and really, really worked hard to get us back to communing and fellowshipping together. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. You gotta meet. You gotta know how to protect your people. You gotta make them wear the PPE, the masks and whatnot. You gotta know how to take care of the ventilation system in your sanctuary. You gotta know that it's gonna cost you to get people back together. And so it takes a lot of prayer. It takes a team, cooperation, and understanding. And I'll put this out there because I hear this so much, that when you're operating the way we're operating, you have no faith. You have no faith, and we're not all spiritual. Even the most mature of Christians, and so we can't just look at this out of a spiritual eye. As Dr. Palmer was saying earlier, it's not just about one person. You know, it's not just about the pastor and what the pastor wants to do. As the under shepherd, as God's under shepherd, it's the job of the pastor to take care of the flock. And when you make decisions and don't take everything into account, the lesser prophets say you will be taken into account. And so I think we have to look at it that way. Be prepared to do the work. Have the faith. Speak to your people candidly. Pray with them to get everything back together. Utilize your resources and know that God is going to make it work for the good.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
I agree with Dr. Chapman. And, proceed with caution. Just like you said.
All right.
It takes work. And pray about it. Know that God is going to work it out.
All right. Dr. Paul?
So I am comfortable with being around people that are fully vaccinated, like I'm fully vaccinated in those 2 weeks. So I am comfortable. I have some folks that come over and we play spades. They're all vaccinated now, so we can play spades together. So if we had a system where we are bringing in the people that are vaccinated, and we know they're vaccinated and still wearing their mask and distancing like we are right now, I'm extremely comfortable with that. And I would be comfortable being in a sanctuary that has that.
All right. With that said, are there any other questions? We're going to end with our illustrious president, and then we're going to give the panel one last opportunity to give their final thoughts.
This is my question is that I heard that to build our community, they either got to take vitamin C or vitamin D, and then young people who are carriers, sometimes they don't get affected. Can you speak to that? Have you heard that?
So it's funny you say that. I had this couple, they're 72, they're both 72, and they came to my office and they had chills, fever, body aches, and they were COVID positive. And so the young lady says, I don't understand. I did everything that Brenda told me to do. I took the vitamin C, vitamin D, and the zinc, and I still got COVID. And so Brenda laughed and said, well, let me talk to her. They did okay, but the studies go back and forth, but there is no real true studies, consensus that these things work. There is a lot of things that have been tried to prevent, and also with treatment. A lot of doctors did try hydroxychloroquine. They've tried the Z-Pak, doxycycline, colchicine. They tried a lot of medications, but a lot of these things that have not been shown to work. Young people can have COVID and be carriers and be okay because they're young. Their immune system is stronger than ours, and then they can pass it on to even one of their colleagues, and that person could die. So, so that's when you're doing the vitamins. I'm all for that, but don't think that's gonna protect you from getting COVID or getting sick.
Okay. Last word, Dr. Chapman.
I just want to say that that I thank you, Pastor. I thank the Ministerial Alliance for this forum, this opportunity to speak, and especially speak to our people. The need is there, and I think it's an important thing to do, and God bless you for doing it. I'd also like to say that there's a website, blackdoctor.org, that I go to quite a bit because there are people who look like me, who get renowned individuals from medicine and from research, and they have forums usually once a month or so. They get authorities on this matter, and it's not just about COVID, but they have all kinds of health care and community resource type things for African Americans. So blackdoctor.org, it's a great resource.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, final thoughts.
I just like to thank you for inviting us to. I think it's a beautiful thing that we can talk to our family members and our people of color, engage them, and hopefully we can turn this around in our own community, and we can go out and get that vaccine and protect ourselves and our loved ones, so we can get back to some normalcy. And I thank you for inviting us in, so we can share the information that we know and what we learned, so help our next government.
Thank you. Dr. Palmer?
Also, thank you for inviting me. Vaccines are wonderful. Vaccines are the part of healthcare that keeps us alive, that keeps us healthy. And vaccines work so well that people forget about different diseases. Some of us in here, we've seen people with polio, but some of the younger people don't know what we're talking about. I'm pretty sure people over 60 have seen people with polio. There's no one with polio in this country anymore because the ones that had it, they died out. It's because the vaccines are working so well. So we have to accept this vaccine as one of the miracles from God. Amen. To help us get through this pandemic, and trying to get our people to understand vaccines are wonderful. And these researchers that are coming up with these vaccines, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of smart people all over the world coming together to solve problems. And when you get that, you're going to get things done. So thank you, and keep pushing the vaccines in your church. It's been hard, even in my family, trying to get my folks to get vaccines. But there are some requirements. You know, if you live in my house, you got to get it. So.
It's amazing. I have two kids in college, and as Dr. Palmer was speaking, I had to say, even myself, my kids didn't have a choice. I actually made the appointments for my children and allowed them to know that whether you're in Valdosta or Statesboro, this is your test date and you just need to show up. I think one of the things that, as our panel has suggested to us, pastors, leaders, we have an obligation. If we believe in what we're doing, we've got to sound the trumpet. We've got to be the bugles across our pulpits and information. So on behalf of the Pastoral Ministers Alliance of Perry, we want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and sharing this wonderful, wonderful information. To all the pastors of the Alliance, we thank you for coming and being a part of it. to the outreach ministry of the Greater Union Church for being on point to help us make sure we have everything in place. And then to the family of the Greater Union Church, we thank them for opening, allowing us to come in and be a part of this wonderful information session. And again, as the pastor here, I want to say thank everyone for a wonderful opportunity to fellowship and information. At this time, we're going to dismiss. Because we're in the church, if you all don't mind bowing your heads right where you are, I believe it is always important to leave and to start out with prayer. Shall we pray? Father, we bless you now for all that you've allowed to happen, for the insight, for the information, for revelation, God, that you provided in this place. We thank you for these professionals who have risked their lives and risked all that they are to come and provide information that has been so vital to the patients and the people they see. We thank them for their tireless effort, God, to not shrink from that responsibility, but to continue to go forward. We thank you for every pastor that's represented here, because we understand that oftentimes a thankless profession, but we thank you for all that you've allowed to happen. We bless you now for the future that you have in front of us. We honor you, God, because we know that you have provided yet again an opportunity for us to go forward as your people. Now to whom is able to keep us and to present us thoughtless before the ground of grace, we honor you right now, and we thank you for all that you've already done. Dismiss us now from this place, never from your sight. It is in your name we do pray. Amen. God bless you.